Massachusetts, incumbent district attorneys generally face little to no opposition. But this year's race for Middlesex DA is a little unusual. That's because the current DA, Marian Ryan, who was our guest last night, was appointed to the post just over a year ago by Governor Deval Patrick after Gerry Leone stepped down. And as Ryan seeks a full 4-year term, she's being challenged in the Democratic primary by my next guest. Michael Sullivan is a former Middlesex prosecutor whose family has deep political roots in Cambridge. He's also the current Middlesex Clerk of Courts. Welcome to Greater Boston.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
Joining us.
Thank you.
So I want to start out by asking you, how does serving as Clerk of Courts qualify you for one of the most important positions in Massachusetts law enforcement?
It's not just the clerk. I mean, I come with eclectic and practical experience for this job. I was an assistant district attorney for 4.5 years. I was an assistant attorney general for 3 years. I served in the city council in Cambridge. I was mayor of Cambridge for 2 terms. I was in private practice, and I've been clerk for 8 years. But each of those experiences have taught me what's good and bad about things. And I bring that skill set to an office that is the largest law firm in Middlesex County, 250 employees, some $15 million budget. It's that management skill with the understanding as to how a trial firm has to work. So it's more than prepared me for this job than the current person sitting there, who's been in the same job for 34 years with no experience outside.
All inside the district attorney's office.
There, and not realizing the ability that this office can do and has to do as it goes forward in our communities. That's why Scott Harshbarger has endorsed me in this race, we both worked for him as assistant DAs, and when he went to the AG's office, he took me with him.
All right, let me ask you, while serving as Clerk of Courts, you did consulting work for a developer in Kendall Square. And the former Massachusetts Inspector General Gerry Sullivan, who's no relation to you, has suggested that's improper. He said, for a Clerk of Courts to accept a consulting job for real estate development in his own jurisdiction that could potentially wind up in the courts is, in my opinion, problematic. Is he right?
No, I mean, based upon the parameters were all after hours, which pursuant to the guidance of the opinions state that I can do things after hours. In addition, I wasn't consulting in any legal matters. I was consulting as it related to a development that was going to impact a significant portion of Cambridge after I left city government.
But what if decisions about that development company were to come before the city of Cambridge?
Well, in the 30 years that I've been in some level of practice, I've met a number of people, whether I've worked for them or they've worked in my campaigns. When they've come before the court and I've sat on the bench, I recuse myself. And I will go to sidebar and inform the parties of the recusal because of it. I would have done the exact same thing
if the situation had occurred. Let me ask you, because your opponent, Marian Ryan, accuses you of what she says is a troubling pattern, not just that one case, of running lucrative side businesses while also in public office. So while you were serving on the Cambridge City Council, you referred a personal injury case to a friend and received almost $1.3 million in referral fees. That's 60%, really an almost unheard of amount. Can you explain that?
It's actually 50% if she got the numbers right. And Marian's never been in private practice, so Marian doesn't know what it's like to practice law. And it is standard practice when someone has a case that comes into them, and in this particular case it was a client that I had in a number of other cases, because I was practicing law when I was still in city government, but Marian doesn't understand how referral fees work. And a friend of mine took the case who specializes in products liability and personal injury and took the case, and for the client did very, very well. And the client was always aware in terms of what the arrangement was. But that's because Marian's never been in private practice and understands how the system works.
All right, well, you have criticized Marian Ryan and her management style, and over a quarter of her employees in the Middlesex DA's office have left during her tenure, and that's something you've made a big deal about. She says that it's commonplace in a stressful work environment with low pay. You say otherwise. Why?
Well,
and would you try to hire those people back if you were elected?
I hope they come back. 72 people have left under her watch. And she keeps making these analogies that it's the same thing that happened when Martha Coakley left.
I think it's 60-some, actually.
Well, it's 72, actually, as of today. So the number's gone up.
As of today, okay.
So it was 60-something in the Globe, and that was just, what, 3 weeks ago? It's now up to 72. It's about management. I'm on a management team in the trial court, and we're taking these management courses. Is one of the pieces, they say salary is a small fraction of what gets people to stay. It's the other pieces in terms of solid management. It's about skills and leadership within an area, how you treat employees. If you're bullying them and you create a hostile work environment, people are going to leave. People left when they didn't have jobs elsewhere. Are they going out to the private sector where they're not getting paid anymore? This is a case of apples and oranges, and this is sort of Marian trying to point someplace else when in fact people are leaving because she doesn't have the skill set to manage. And this just didn't happen when she became DA. The same thing happened when she was an assistant DA.
All right,
and
let's
problem.
away from the issue of management, let's look at some of the core issues that she's been criticized for. The handling of the Gerry Leone case. Her office has been criticized for releasing Gerry Leone after he assaulted his girlfriend, and 2 days later he killed her. So Ryan's office is now requiring that all of her people have a supervisor review bail requests. Would you continue that policy, or do you agree with the criticisms of it from people working there?
My biggest criticism of her in the Leone case is for her to stand up in front of cameras and blame the victim when the DA is supposed to be the voice for the victim was a tragedy that's beyond comprehension. With regard to supervision...
And how is it that she did that?
On the day of the murder, when she went to the press, she went through a litany of basically the victim is dead because she didn't take actions on her own. The only person responsible for Jennifer's death was Mr. Leone.
Well, let me ask you what you would do to prevent someone like Gerry Leone, politically connected or related to a celebrity, from getting preferential treatment in the system, even if they have access to expensive lawyers.
It's a blind system. One of the problems that gets cited in the report was a lack of training for personnel on how to review a file and to take the time to make sure that they knew that there were past issues on how you weigh a case and make a recommendation. It should make no difference. It should make no difference.
So you can pledge that under you something like this would not happen ever again?
It would not happen. I mean, I would train my staff so they would take the right appropriate steps.
Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Michael Sullivan.